Look at that.
That one wrapped around Joe.
Round it. Look at him just pressing on the head here, though. That's for Sterling.
That's illegal.
His knee was down.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the betting show for UFC 273, Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. And today on the show, we're going to be breaking down both title fights, diving into it, giving you my angles and my breakdown. Going to be breaking all that down today, and let me tell you something. We are coming off a 4-0 sweep on client plays last weekend. Earned clients 13.15 units just on Saturday night, and we had Mark DeCasey at plus 140. We had Chris Gutierrez at plus 125. We had Brian Barberina minus 105, and as well as Matheus Nicolau at plus 120. Great night, sweeping overall. A lot of plus money out there, so it was a great showing. And what I'm doing this weekend here is I'm doing a giveaway. I'm doing 30 days of my plays for free. You got to go onto Twitter and at Kyle Anthony UFC to enter. But what I'm looking to do here is, you can check the post out there, but basically all you got to do is you got to like the post, you got to retweet the post, as well as you got to make sure you're following me on Twitter. And what from there, what you basically got to do is in the comment section, let me know who's going to win the main event and what round, or by decision. And if you do, you get 30 days of my plays for free. So definitely go onto Twitter at Kyle Anthony UFC, take a look, and enter the contest. But with that being said, we're going to dive into the main event of the evening between Alexander Volkanovski and the Korean Zombie. Right now you've got Volkanovski. He is at a minus 850, and on the other side you've got the Korean Zombie coming back at plus 540. So we're going to break it down here. We're going to get into it, and as we always do here on the show, we're going to break down 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So, we're first going to be talking about Alexander Volkanovski, and 3 fights ago, he fought Max Holloway for the first time. Now, the thing about this fight here, I'm not going to dive into this one too much, but the thing about this one here is, I really like what Volkanovski did right out of the gate, and it's something that he does pretty much every one of his fights, which is his leg kicks. And that was something I think that I think it really threw off Max Holloway. I think he didn't realize how accurate he is, how many that he's going to throw. I just think that Volkanovski mixes it in extremely well, snaps it out, and I think that really threw off Max Holloway in that first fight. Kept him out of rhythm, wasn't able to really set in. It didn't look like the normal Max Holloway. Of course, Max Holloway is going to have good moments in every fight. It's very tough to dominate a guy like him, even in a losing situation. But even out there, he really dictated the pace. I think that the damaging shots were really landing for Volkanovski. It just wasn't a good showing for Max Holloway, but more credit to Volkanovski, the way that he was mixing it up. But again, I thought it was a great showing, really getting Max out of his rhythm early in that fight. But with that one right there, we're just going to kind of skip over that one a little bit quicker here. Volkanovski does get the victory over Max Holloway via decision. Then 2 fights ago, he fought Max Holloway for the second time. Now, this one was a situation here where Max made adjustments, and that's something that he's extremely good at. I mean, he's really good. Even during fights, you could see he's very good at just changing up his game plan, getting good reads. You know that Jan, we'll talk about him later, but, that's another spot where, he's kind of that same way. He just picks up data as he's going, calculates, and then starts to really pick his opponent apart using that information. And this was a spot here where I thought that Max did a good job here, and he was trying to get out of the way of some of these leg kicks. He was a little bit more in tune with those, and I think that that's what really kind of helped him early in the fight. Now, the one thing I will say, though, is that, Volkanovski is pushing forward, throwing out good volume. And early in that fight, and you even heard some of the announcers kind of say it, that, hey, Max is up, 2-0, or maybe it was 3-0, or whatever it was. I think it was Bisbing or whoever it was stating that Max was winning those early rounds. And there were some close spots there where he maybe maxed, but Volk really started to dig in later in that fight. And I thought that's really where he took over. And that shows a championship grade fighter. Not that Max is not, of course, Max is up there as one of the top guys ever in the division. But I like what he did there, just is able to really dig in deeper into fights, showing he could last, showing that even when he's hurt, he can still kind of keep pushing forward. There were spots in there where Max dropped Volkanovski. Volkanovski was able to get back up and kind of get back to his feet. Max was kind of making fun of him a little bit, mocking him when he dropped him early and landing some good shots. But Volkanovski's always there. He's a hard guy to hurt. He's going to keep moving forward. He's going to stick to his game plan. He's very averse when it comes to damage, bouncing in and out. But he goes out there. He did get the victory. Some people thought it was a robbery. I had it as a 3-2 Volkanovski, but there was very, very close rounds in there. But he goes out there and he does beat Max Holloway. And then most recently, he fought Brian Ortega. This was another spot here where, it was almost, the pressure again, you're going to see it where it was the pressure again, moving forward, landing big shots, but it was just such a calculated, strategic with Volkanovski. He didn't want to overcommit. He didn't want to push too forward ahead and allow Brian Ortega to really get his hands on him. Obviously, we know what happened later in the fight, but he just was able to really stay light-footed, keep on the outside, land big shots, then bounce back out, land big shots. You got to say that Ortega looked better on the feet, no doubt about it. I thought that he looked a little bit better, but that threat of just the takedowns can throw off a lot of fighters. And not like that it threw off Volkanovski, but he knew, I got to stay at a distance. I don't want to be anywhere in a grappling situation. So this was a spot here where the chin of Ortega was tested. There were some big shots that were landed, but you got into that third round where it was just looking like it was really pretty much all Volkanovski in that fight, and Ortega, where his face is battered, bruised, beaten up, and in that spot where he just one little miscalculation where Ortega landed a shot, Volkanovski kind of fell. It wasn't really this clean big shot that dropped him, but as soon as he gets down, Brian Ortega latches on a guillotine, trying to get a mounted guillotine, trying to get him, and it looked like there was a spot where he was gonna tap. He looked like he was extremely in a very, very bad spot where you look at Volkanovski's face, ends up getting out of that, and then quickly there was another situation where he gets into another, he's in a triangle choke. That looked bad all of a sudden, but Volkanovski is so damn tough. Once again, it proves it there where it's later into the fight, and there are some bad situations, even where Brian Ortega has you in the triangle. That pretty much is the end of the fight in most situations where he's got you in that spot. But Ortega was battered, beaten. I don't think he had the strength to kind of keep it there. If that happened earlier in the fight, maybe we're saying there's something different happening there. But he goes out there, he does get a clean decision victory, but there were some scary spots for Volkanovski in that fight. But he goes out there and gets the victory. Now on the other side, we've got Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie through Fresco, he fought Frankie Edgar. Now this is a fight here, we don't got to dive into this one too much because Zombie steamrolled through Frankie Edgar. It was... Listen, I like Frankie. Frankie is a good Jersey boy, and I'm always going to be a fan of him, but boy, this looked like a bad showing. He went in there, Zombie landed one good shot on him, rocked him, he got back. He kind of came back too, dropped them again, and Zombie then got on his back, landing big shots from the back mount. And then from there, somehow Edgar kind of gets up, but it was almost as if Zombie wanted him up because he knew Frankie was done, lands some big shots, puts him away in the first round. A dominating showing for Korean Zombie, but again, the chin of Frankie, age, MMA mileage, a lot of stuff going against him in that fight. So Zombie goes out there and gets the victory there. 2 fights ago, Korean Zombie fought Brian Ortega as well. Now this is a fight here where there's definitely more things to take out of it here. And the one thing here that I thought that Zombie looked terrible. And it's not, I don't think it's not because Ortega looked amazing. Ortega definitely looked good. He was looking clean, combinations were flowing, but Zombie just looked flat. He didn't look like he had energy, didn't look like he had much motivation. I think, again, it's another situation where the fighter is very nervous about being taken down, knowing what Ortega could do on the ground. That may have taken Zombie out of his element a little bit more there too, but he was getting picked apart. I mean, he was really getting just outlanded by Brian Ortega, which, no offense to Brian Ortega, and I know that, again, he's definitely been elevating his striking, but man, this was, if you tell me that that was going to be a striking bout, and there were, not really too many takedowns, which there were a few, but too many takedowns, and it was just going to be a striking bout, you would think Zombie would be able to go out there and get that victory. It was completely the other way. I don't even think Zombie won a round in that fight. If I do remember, I think it was 5-0 for every judge. So there you have it there. Zombie looked bad. Definitely a lot to take away from that for another situation here where, on the other side, where Volkanovski just almost felt like he was playing with his food a little bit, going out there and slapping Brian Ortega around a little bit. But he goes out there and he does get the decision loss, to Brian Ortega, where Ortega went out there and won every single round. Then, let's see here. Then, most recently, he fought Dan Ige. Sorry. So he fought Dan Ige most recently, and this was a fight here where I thought Zombie looked great. So it almost looked like it was a different fighter when you're looking at the fight prior against Brian Ortega, where Zombie looked flat, no energy, Brian was outlanding him, and then in this situation here where he looked like just really mixing the level changing together, adding in nice shots, outlanding Danny, who's got some good boxing and definitely is well rounded with some wrestling. Pressured him, pushed forward, landing big shots. Controlling the action from beginning to end. Really, there wasn't really too many highlights or high spots, I should say, for Dan Ige. And this was a spot here where really he just looked great. Zombie looked great volume, pressuring. It was kind of like that fight with Ortega was almost like an outlier, just the way that he looked and everything. Where in this fight here, most recently, he looked fantastic. He goes out there and he does get the decision victory over Dan Ige. So with that being said, obviously you've got Volkanovski, current champion, well-rounded, strong leg kicks. That's his best weapon there. Good volume, has good cardio, and he's just a strong dude. He is just a strong guy. And the other side here, you've got Zombie. He's got the power, the pressure. But I think the biggest thing for me here, when we're breaking this down now here, is obviously is the boxing and the stance at which Korean Zombie has. And it's this boxing stance where he really likes to dig in and he likes to just stand and brawl and get in your face. And that, I think, the stance at which he has, where he has to have a strong base to really stand and throw, is going to leave a ton of leg kicks there for him, for Volkanovski to land. It's going to be there from beginning of the fight, I think, to the end of the fight, unless Zombie changes a little bit, but he is not. He's a flat-footed guy. He's got this plotting style where he just comes forward. He's willing to take a shot to give a shot. And a lot of times he's going to want to take those shots to his face, or he's going to want to take these shots in different spots. You can't take leg kicks all fight long. I think that that is really going to be a difference maker here. We know it's a difference maker for Volkanovski already. We know that's one of his best weapons. But I think the stance for Zombie is going to leave a big target for Volkanovski to be firing these and slowing down the Zombie even further than he is already. So I think that is really going to be where he starts chipping away early on Zombie. So I think that's a massive disadvantage, I think, for Korean Zombie there. But, I do like Volkanovski to go out and get this victory. But I think there's a method of victory play in here. And the first thing here is both these guys are durable. Very durable. And you've got two guys who definitely can take a shot. We've seen both these guys take shots. We've seen them have the cardio. We've seen them go 5 rounds. We've seen them go deep into fights. We've seen them in big brawls. We've seen them in all different spots. And they've shown to have the ability to kind of extend fights, to take a shot, where guys may take a shot and go down. And these guys are very, very durable. That is a massive part of this. But you also add the fact that both of them are somewhat more Volkanovski, but they're defensively, reliable. Sometimes, Zombie likes to take some shots to the face, but Volkanovski is not a guy that's going to just stand in the pocket and brawl and fire and allow somebody like Zombie who is going to be wanting something like that, he's not going to allow him to do that. So I think that that's a situation where you're going to see Volkanovski, and I know that he's talked about it recently on an interview. He said, I'm going to get the finish within 3 rounds. Is that possible? I'm sure, of course that's possible. But it's not really showing what he's done in his career. Now, over in his career, he has, I think it's here, he's got 13 finishes and 9 decisions in his career. But over the last 10 fights, 7 have been decision and 3 have been by finish. And it just, to me, and then you've got someone like Zombie who is a durable kind of guy. So it's not that, and I think that that's something that is bothering Volkanovski a little bit, where people are saying, hey, he's been point fighting. And again, he's fighting some of the best fighters in the world, and he's going to a decision, but he's looking good in these decisions. But he just doesn't have that ability to get these finishes. And I think that is a spot where you can find value in a situation here where you're looking at Volkanovski, who's a minus 850. And I do like him to get this victory. Zombie has a puncher's chance, of course, but I do like Volkanovski here. But I like Volkanovski via points, getting off the big number of minus 850 and getting it down to minus 135 on Volkanovski via points. I think is value there. I think it's absolutely a great spot. So for me, as my free play, I'm going to be taking Alexander Volkanovski via points minus 130. And my other free play is going to be the other title fight of the evening, Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. We've got Yan at minus 480, and the comeback here on Aljo is plus 350. So here, I'm not going to dive into this, but I am going to dive into their last fight. And I think there's a lot of pieces here in a fight that I think a lot of people just think Yan ran away with it, or Yan just dominated, and then there was the knee. So I'm going to break it down a little bit and give you kind of my 2 cents on that. But really, in that first round, Aljamain looked great. I mean, I know that I don't know if that comes as a surprise, or if you've rewatched it, but that first round, Aljo looked great. He was pushing forward with volume, pressure, kicks, and he was throwing a nice front kick, throwing some body kicks, getting in his face. And I think Yan was kind of thrown off by it. Like he kind of was almost overwhelmed, but also Yan is an absolute killer. So he just stays composed. And that's one thing that we've seen him. I mean, he could be, with his family on Christmas morning and probably have the same facial expression, because the guy never shows any emotion at all. But this was a spot where he kind of stayed on the outside. He kind of was almost overwhelmed by it. And early, I think it was within the first 90 seconds, Aljo throws 2 jumping knees, which we have seen Yan get hit by in a few times, because he kind of has this, just kind of the way he blocks, it kind of leaves that opportunity for guys to kind of throw that shot. He landed one that kind of, decently landed on Yan's kind of like the side of his face. But the volume was there. Then he was throwing in level changes. There was a lot going on for Aljo. In that first round, he looked great. And up until, yes, he did get dropped. At the end of that round, he did get dropped, but pretty much that round was Aljo. And if you're just kind of scoring it, you got to give Aljo round 1. And again, he looked great there, and it looked like he was exerting a ton of energy. The volume was extremely high, and maybe because he had, the early finish of Sandhagen or whatever it was, but he went out there early and just pushed the volume out. And I did say that he would win I didn't say I said it, but I did believe that he did win that first round. Second round, though, if you look at it, it was kind of the same thing that Aljamain was doing. He was pushing volume, pushing forward. Again, Yan, very, very relaxed. It wasn't like he was in some dire straits where he was close to being finished by any means. But, Yan's very accurate. He was very, very economical with the striking. You could tell the power advantage goes to Yan when it comes to the striking. He was landing, the harder shots. He was landing at like 70% or something like absurd, 75% or in those first few rounds. I mean, Yan just kind of waited, and fired when he needed to, which definitely allows him to kind of keep his energy moving into the later rounds. But it was a close round. I mean, that second round was fairly close. I thought Aljo looked good, and you could say 1-1, maybe 2-2, but it was 1-1 or 2-2, 2-0 in that, going into that third round. But after that, this is when the adrenaline dump, the energy dumped out, all of it. So if you really look at this fight, I mean, those first 2 rounds, you could give to Aljamain Sterling. And going into the third round, this is when everything kind of fell apart for Aljo. He, you could just tell he did not have much energy anymore. It was almost like his body was just giving out. I mean, there were points where he kind of tried to even grab Jan, and Jan would just throw him easily down. I mean, it was almost like you're throwing a child down. It would just boom. He threw him down. He would get up, have him get back up or kick his legs a little bit while he's down. And that was starting to be where the pace started coming from Jan. Everything started pushing forward. He really, looked relaxed. He kept landing heavy shots, and this is when, again, it started chipping away. Sloppy takedown attempts from Aljo. It looked terrible. This is where it almost looked like Jan was like, okay, this fight's now. It's coming to me. He's done. Let me find my finishing shot here. Going into the fourth round, a lot of the same thing again. Jan landing big shots. Aljo almost looked like he had nothing left. And then the knee happens, the illegal knee, fight over, Aljamain becomes a champion. So, with that being said, though, this was a competitive fight early. As much as we want to say how, the memes that come out for Aljo and all these other things, he had a lot of success. And for me, the first thing here is that if Aljamain Sterling doesn't go balls to the wall in that first round or round and a half, and he kind of stays within himself a little bit and kind of is a little more economical and utilizes he's very well rounded. He's got a great skill set, a lot of great striking ability. I think that helps him. If he can kind of get a little and kind of hone that in, I think that helps him tremendously if he could just dial it back, be patient, and then he can start finding success and allowing some of these opportunities to get to him. Now, Peter Yan is a kind of guy, again, who's going to be very patient. He's going to look for his big shots, and then when he feels it's right, he's going in for the kill shot. He doesn't just, again, he allows the fight to come to him. A lot of times people say he's a slow starter or whatever it is, but a lot of times he's the kind of guy that says, all right, let me see what you got. And he's okay. He understands the fight is 5 rounds, and, not that he gives up a round, but I think he's very comfortable with, okay, well, let's see what you got. That helps me so much for the rest of the fight. I'm willing to kind of see your movement and see what you're going to be offering offensively. Also, that Yan has an 89% takedown defense rate, so it's not like Aljo's going to be able to be manhandling him and throwing him down, but the threat of takedowns could help him. Now, I think that if he had the opportunity to actually have the energy to get these takedowns later in the fight, or at least just keep it tight and be clinching, I think that would have helped him. He just had nothing left after this extremely high volume in that first round, in that second round, and then it dumped off. Also, you got to say, Aljo has a 4-inch reach advantage. And I think he's decently able to utilize that. And I think the first round, you saw some of that. You saw that he was able to use that. That he was able to he's very lanky, rangy, and again, he uses these front kicks as kind of like a distance management kind of strike, and then kind of follows up and sets up his combinations with some of those kicking strikes. But for me here, now listen, you may want to take a shower after placing this bet, but I do like Aljamain Sterling at plus 350. Now, this is not a massive play for me. This is a little sprinkle. I think the value's there. This line's crazy to me here. I'm not the kind of person here that's, all in on Aljamain or anything like that. I just think this line is very wide. I think this is a fight that's going to probably go to a decision. I'm not taking Aljamain via decision just because I think there's enough on the bone here at plus 350 where, hey, I'd rather sprinkle that than really, swing for haymakers. And that's another thing that I think a lot of people, I see people on Twitter do all the time, they're firing off all of these methods and all of these props and all of these things, and they're probably losing a lot more than they're ever going to win on those. I mean, they'll lose 15 of them, and then they'll hit one that maybe is a, plus 500, but you're just losing money on your bankroll by really trying to hit some of these. They're very difficult to hit. That's why they pay a lot. So I'm not one to really, kind of dive into these, Aljo by, third round submission, all these crazy things. I'm more happy with, hey, listen, give me, give me the guy at this plus number. I'm comfortable with it. So for me here, again, take a shower after you place this bet because it's a little dirty. But Aljamain Sterling plus 350 to get the victory. A little sprinkle on that. So those are my 3 plays for UFC 273. If you want to get my client play package, link down in the description. And got 3 plays up right now. Probably going to have about 5. That's a lot for me normally, but going to have about 5. So we'll get all into that there. If you want to be a client, at wagertalk.com, link down in the description. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and we'll see you next time.